Hi, this is Amy Fox from My Posing Coach. Starting the girls' stage walkout, everyone will be lining up backstage, ready to go on behind the curtain. So competitor number 1, Felicia, will step out onto dot point number 1, where she makes eye contact with the judges before proceeding to dot number 2. As she walks out, she's got 2 poses to perform here before making her way to dot number 3. In position number 3, all of the girls have up to 30 seconds to perform poses. So these are a mixture of front poses, back poses, and the side poses. It's your chance to be as creative as possible. Felicia, as you see, is moving her hair as well as doing a back pose with the hair down, just to keep things a little bit different and so the judges have the opportunity to see her back. Once she's completed 30 seconds in the middle, she goes over to this side of the stage here, position number 4, and does another 2 to 3 poses up to 10 seconds in length. Once completed, Felicia will walk across the entire stage to cross number 5, again 2 to 3 poses up to 10 seconds in length. Most of Felicia's poses, as you can see, are performed to the front, so always try and pose your strongest points on the edges of the stage. Once she's finished posing on position number 5, she finishes and comes to stand on the resting line here, which is also known as number 6. So as competitor number 1 is waiting on the resting line, the judges will call competitor 2 to the stage. So competitor number 2, Sarah, will stop and pause, making eye contact on position number 1 before proceeding to position number 2. In this position, she's in the middle and she's performing up to 3 poses, maximum 10 seconds in length, before walking to the front of the stage where she's got up to 30 seconds to perform a choreography of different poses of her choice. As you can see, she's standing to the back here, she's moving her hair and shining her back, and she's also placing her hands on the top of her head, which is another variation of the back pose that you can opt for. Once finished, she makes her way over to the cross number 4, up to 10 seconds, 2 to 3 poses of her choice. Once completed on cross number 4, Sarah makes her way across the entire stage again, maintaining eye contact with the judges and performing up to 2 to 3 poses on the corner here for about 10 seconds. Once competitor number 2 has finished, she acknowledges to the crowd that she's finished, comes over and stands next to competitor number 1 on resting line number 6. I'll now call competitor number 3 to the stage, Catherine. She pauses on cross number 1, acknowledges the crowd before making her way to cross number 2, where she has up to 10 seconds to perform about 2 to 3 poses. Once finished, making her way to cross number 3, up to 30 seconds worth of poses, displaying her body in the most creative way possible that suits her personality and her physique. Starting with the hair down, moving the hair to show definition in the back, then making her way across to the cross number 4, where she has up to 10 seconds again, 2 to 3 poses, and then proceeding to cross number 5, maintaining eye contact with the judges, and again 2 to 3 poses for about 10 seconds. Once competitor 3 has finished, acknowledges the crowd and makes her way to the resting line number 6 with the rest of the girls. Whilst on the resting line number 6, the competitors are allowed to move freely. However, the movements should be gentle and very subtle. They don't want to take away any attention from the other girls that are coming out in the presentation round. So some of the subtle movements that you're allowed to perform look something like this. They're just moving very slowly pausing in between poses. The presentation round will be followed by the quarter turn round. All of the girls will be lining up on the resting line, number 6, before waiting for the judges to call their top 6 competitors. Now we've only got 3, so keep in mind there are a total of 6 girls on the day of the show, and these girls can be called in any order. So the judges might say, competitor number 3 to the front of the stage. So this is Catherine, competitor number 3, she walks straight to the front. Then they might ask to also see competitor number 1. So competitor number 1 is Felicia. She comes to stand at the front of the stage. We'll also have competitor number 3, Sarah, come to the front of the stage also. So we've got 3 for now, but on this line here, there will be a total of 6 competitors. Now, the judges will ask for a front pose first. Most of the girls are in the front pose already, so if they're called to the front, they will just readjust this pose. The second pose is a quarter turn to the right. So girls, quarter turn to the right. This is where they pose a side pose. And you'll see slightly very different variations of this side pose, all perfectly acceptable. Quarter turn to the back, or quarter turn to the rear of the stage, both meaning the same thing. The girls would face the back of the stage, and you'll notice 3 different variations of the back pose. Sarah has her hands up, both arms up, showing the definition in her back. In the middle here, we've got one hand on the hip, hair to the side, also showing the back. And finally, Felicia's got her hair down, also an acceptable pose. Quarter turn to the right. Very similar to the first side pose, you can have some slight variations of this pose. You don't have to do exactly the same thing on each side. Choose something that is flattering to your physique. Then the judges will say, thank you ladies, face the front of the stage and return to the resting line number 6. So they will acknowledge that they've finished their judging and they walk back to the resting line. Once they return to this position, if the judges are happy, the girls will leave the stage. If not, the judges might change some numbers around to get a new group through. So they may call Felicia through again, competitor number 1, mixed with a competitor number 5 from the other side. So just listen to your number and make sure you follow the instructions. Let's have a closer look at some front pose variations. Let's start with Felicia on the end here, some front pose variations. Sarah's variations. And Catherine's variations of a front pose. We're in our first side pose, so quarter turn to the right. This is the first side pose. We're looking at variations here. Felicia, let's start with your variations. Sarah's variations. As you can see, she's just mainly moving the arms, whereas Felicia moved the legs. And finally, the variations for Catherine. Just an arm movement change. Let's have a look at some back pose variations. Starting with Felicia here, she's starting with her hair down on her back, and the only change that she's going to make is a foot change. Sarah, hair is moved to the side. She's doing an arm pose down low, followed by a variation with both hands behind the head. So this is great for showing definition in the back. Then Catherine, starting with her pose from the back, and the variation of movement of the hair to one hand on the hip. So these are different positions that you can all do for your back pose. This is our final quarter turn pose. It's a side pose, but from the other side. So starting with Felicia, a couple of variations here. Then Sarah. And finally Catherine. Here are some of the things that you're not allowed to do on the bikini stage. One is a male bodybuilder type pose, which could look something like any of this. Side chest pose is also unacceptable. Side chest pose is like this. Side tricep pose is also unacceptable. Another unacceptable pose, ab and thigh. Where one leg is extended, the hands are above the head, you're crunching down your nerves. Make sure you don't perform any rear double bicep poses. No sexual or seductive movements are allowed either. It's really important when performing the back pose that it's done tastefully. If the girls are leaning too far forward in this position, marks can be deducted or points can be deducted because of this position. So they need to be standing up nice and tall. They can kick their pelvis back to make sure that the glutes, there's no line here underneath the glutes, but it does need to look tasteful and classy. It's really important to remember that you're marked on your posing and your stage presence. It needs to look classy and well polished. No cheap dance moves are allowed.